I'm doing this very differently this time. Always, I do talks all the time, but very rarely they ask me to speak about myself and share my story. Normally, it's a little bit about my background, and then you dive into your subject that you know. So this is actually the first time I'm doing this in this way. So let's see how that goes, right? So the talk is hopefully that I can plant the seed today so you can become your own life scientist, so you can embrace the uncertainty and the beauty of possibility. But I'm going to be a little bit elegant in the beginning, yeah? So I'm going to do my quick presentation. So my name is Maria, but my friends call me Mia. You can call me whatever rocks your boat, yeah? So I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years, and I've been working in the space between humans and technology for 15 plus years. I do wear your stereotypical entrepreneurial hat, which means hats, many, many of them. So here's a couple of examples of some of the hats that I wear. I'm a healthcare informatician. That means I'm the love child between healthcare and technology. By a little bit of an accident, which I will come into later, I'm also a mental health professional. I specialize on CBT and RBT. Thank you for encouraging that everybody should see a therapist. Hopefully we speak after. Also along the line, I also became a blockchain and AI strategist. And I'm currently also an advisor and ambassador for a AI company called Hypercycle. I sit in the BCS ICT Ethics, so BCS being the Chartered Institute of IT in London. And I'm also a senior. I don't know what I put it there, but I thought I should do that because for those who are not familiar with that, I come from a micro generation, so I lived through when we didn't have the phones, but I'm also quite good in technology, I will say. So I'm a little bit in between. And where that led me, we will see. So where did it start? So here's the world, as you can see. I was born somewhere around here in Central America. So I have Latin American roots, Costa Rican and Nicaraguan. And then at some point, we moved all the way to Sweden. So as you can see, I don't look Swedish, I don't look like Alba. That's a little bit confusing for some people, but that's where we ended up. And that was definitely the antidote. And I am based in London. And for a quick moment, I did touch down on this island for 3 years, and I'm back in London. But that actually has really, really enriched my life to be moved around in different parts of the world. And it helped me to see things a little bit differently. And sometimes that it didn't really resonate with some people, and it confused them. So that was a little bit of it was a little bit tough from time to time to see where you belong. But that became actually my superpower later on. And I'm doing this talk also because I want to mention my mother, who has been, she's my hero, basically. So I was raised by two strong women, my grandmother and my mother, who back in the days had to leave her country because there was a war that was about to start, and we just keep on doing our things. She's also an entrepreneur, so I'm an entrepreneur by DNA. My father was an entrepreneur for 63 years until his death. And something that my mother taught me, because it happens a lot of times when you don't really know where you belong or what should I do, she says, do not be afraid of life. So this is something that I carry around wherever I go. And hopefully that keeps me warm at night as well. So I don't have that straight path, and it was fine. Well, it is fine now, but it wasn't. It wasn't like that. People were questioning it. Everybody has a say, and particularly, when you're a little bit younger, you kind of like, how do I sort of get rid of that white noise? Everybody has an opinion, and I'm just a curious soul. I like to do various things. But I'm gonna walk you through a little bit how a little bit of some of experience, some one pleasant, some less pleasant. But it actually it turned out quite good. I don't know. So in Sweden, I had an experience where my grandmother moved from Latin America to live with us, and she passed away from liver cancer when I was 16. And of course, that was devastating. I didn't know if I could ever smile again. But then I thought, you know what? What if I could do something to, could I have prevented it somehow? But you know how it is when you're that young, you don't really have that much experience. I didn't know really what to do. But I thought at the time that I want to become a journalist. I'm going to educate people. I'm going to write about it. And for people to maybe listen to me, I have something to say. I didn't know what, but I think that's where I was go. I didn't become a journalist, but I gained some good media education. So I carried that with me. Then I didn't really know what I was gonna do. I got my first job in a municipality in a small town south of Stockholm. That was my first job that I got, my first real office. So that now I felt like a grown up. And then it was a project, so it has to finish at some point. And then I thought, you know what? Maybe I need to start my own business. And I always worked with my mother in any shape and form. I used to carry her things when she was doing exhibitions and whatnot. And then I thought, well, she could do it, so can I. So I started my business, and I thought, well, there must be something more. So my business was in I had a spa. Okay, so I have one of those professions. And I thought there has to be something more. And I started thinking about my grandmother again, and I thought, what if so we need to work to more prevention somehow. And then I thought, how about naturopathic doctor? Because I like, natural things. I'm not against conventional medicine, but I thought that that's where I belong. So I went there, and I studied in a place called Uppsala in Sweden. And I went into medical science, and then everybody started to talk to me again and say, naturopathic doctor. That's what are you going to earn? What's that? And then I started to stress out now, because I've been studying for 4 years. And then people will say, are you going to make a living? Well, I don't know. Oh, well, that's tough. And then somebody said, you know what? There's something new called healthcare informatics. I mean, what's that? I'm always curious. I don't want to get bored. And I thought, well, medicine is always evolving, but so it's technology as well. So I think that's a fit for me. So I'm going to go there. I'm going to transition to healthcare informatics. And there's a big umbrella, so I can work with digital health, and I don't know how, but I'm just going to do it. And then in 2010, I moved to London from Sweden, and I thought that the Londoners were just gonna wait for me with hug me and just say, "Come and work here," and that was not the case. And so it took me a couple of months to get my work there. I landed a super cool company, and then it was not really for me. It didn't resonate with me how I saw their employees being treated. And so I think that I was not willing to compromise my integrity. And I used to have a mentor at the time, and he said, Mia, if you quit your job, you will never be employed again. And I think his word was, you were going to commit laboral suicide. That was scary. And I said, well, my integrity is not for compromise, so I'm going to quit, which I did. And then I cry all my way back home on the bus because I didn't know if I was going to get employed again. He was wrong. And then between those jobs, I went to a talk like this, and somebody was giving a talk about how she came out from her mental health journey. She used to live outside on the street, and she has recovered, and she had got all this help. And I was so inspired. I said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go there. I'm going to create an app. I'm going to save the world with that app. I'm going to cure mental health with one app. That's when I started to, I realized that you couldn't do that. But I always been so curious. So I went there and I asked and I said, can I come to the rehabilitation center to see how you guys are working and learn? And that's how I actually entered into mental health by accident, really, because I was shattered and I wanted to learn. And then I started to do a little bit of studies, and then 1 year became 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and then I was already a CBT, rational motor behavioral therapy. Tried to say that fast 5 times. And then, of course, in the healthcare sector, there's always different things that we have to look. So how can we improve it? How can we enhance it? How can we serve the mass? And somebody was talking about blockchain. I was like, blockchain, isn't that crypto? And it wasn't. But then, of course, we started to elaborate more on that, and they would look into cybersecurity, AI. And I was like, wow, this is really neat. It's really cool. I'm going to go there. Or guess what? There was not that many women in that sector. I was already on niche around here. I mean, blockchain 10 years ago, not that many. So I have to knock on doors. And I say, could you just invite me? And I know that sometimes in some communities, women we say, that it's not a good thing, but this actually turned into my benefit, because they could always remember me because I was the only woman. So I said, are you that one? Yes, I am. And I always call them, but you need to balance it out. So I always, I've never been afraid in that sense. I don't know how it's going to be, but sometimes it's just what it is. And then that's how I got there. And then from another place, I went and I was speaking about blockchain in Spain, and somebody said, we really like what you're doing. So have you ever considered maybe looking into other companies? And went into angel investment. I was like, I don't know anything about investment, but I do know building companies. So let me learn. And then I was dragged into this angel investment syndicate. I was like, well, that's fancy. So what am I going to do here? And started to exactly what I'm doing now. Sharing my experience and looking at things, trying to, hold hands, how we're going to do this together. And so I ended up doing that and doing mentorships and so on. And then suddenly I realized 20-something years has gone by. And here we are, like building the future. Last week, I was speaking at Westminster. Now I got invited into the Parliament of the United Kingdom. There was the only Swede, actually only foreigner at that time, many times. And then the UN invited me to talk, because apparently all the things that were so confusing to people and so eclectic. I used to get really antsy when somebody says, so what do you do? Oh, well, gosh, one line, right. And back in the days, that wasn't really what you're supposed to do. You should go one straight line. And then I said, well, I do this, I do that. And then like another generation, they say, well, you seem a little bit lost, aren't you? Well, I was a little bit lost, but then I just realized that now I was a little bit ahead of my time. That's what I was, ahead of my time. So I realized that, I'm a polymath, I think. That's what I am. That's what I am. I'm a polymath, and I like to have a polymathic approach to complex things. And that is what we need today, I think. So we can learn from each other, so we can learn how to be empathic. And something that I also realized is super important is that I need to talk less. I started to listen more. And then I realized then that you don't need all titles, because everybody here has a story. And those stories was actually the ones that inspired me all along, because I could see myself in every person, which is fantastic. So if people ask me what nurtures and what nurtures my passion and curiosity, I would say you do, all of you, because I like to look at you. I like to connect the dots. I like to talk about sustainability, not in that sense of the green, but longevity of your business, our friendships, our relationships. I like to be creative. There's nothing that I love more than just being in a creative room with all these wonderful minds. I like to make an impact, which I've seen people building from nothing to change the world. And it doesn't have to be in a bigger place like I thought. It could actually be in just small changes, make such a huge difference. And the collaboration, misspelled there. Nobody picked up on that. But the collaboration, definitely. I had so many people, just like you, Pierre. I think it's so important to. I never value how important it is to have all these amazing people. It took a long time. I really didn't see that, but now I'm so grateful um, to work with so amazing people all across the world, and hopefully, maybe I work with you in the future. The inclusion for me has also been a very important part. My grandmother, she barely went to fourth grade. She didn't even make, I think, to fourth grade. But I said it, I think, yesterday to my friend who was sitting here. My grandmother is so far after her death one of the most intelligent women I have ever met, and probably will as well. And I think that sometimes you miss out on such a great power if you don't look beyond what your eyes can see. I also believe in education, of course, and education doesn't have to be going to university, but we share our experiences, and hopefully we learn from each other. That's the only way we can do. Ethics is something definitely that it's close to my heart. Before COVID, it was so important, like who we bought from, our services and whatnot. But now I'm more into who am I doing business with? What am I contributing to? And and also health. Um, that is, I think, my course. So whatever you look, I can always trace it to health. I think it comes to well-being, to everything. So I think this is my revenge today. If can we call it revenge? This is my sort of like coming back to all the people who said that, that is not what you can do, which is not for me. The whole red thread through the work that I do of delivering health and wealth, value to people all around the world. And all the people that I work with, all the way from Latin America, I work with the Middle East, I work here in Europe, and I'm so grateful that they actually are giving me those platforms to share my story. And I want to leave you with something. What I think is entrepreneurship is like running experiments. The world is your lab, so you're allowed to do mistakes, because we know that all the greatest inventions has sometimes come from different from mistakes sometimes, and that's pretty much what I had to say today. Thank you.